In here are three little secrets. Your three little secrets are these holes, which are here. These holes are drillings that go from the inside here to the outside here. And if you put, this is your primary case, which is here, and your chains in here, and your alternators here, and your clutches here. If you've got too much oil in here, the oil will go through those little holes into your crankcase. Obviously you use the same oil in your primary as you do in your engine. It's the same stuff. Don't use anything different. Don't block those holes up. Make sure they're always clear, and when you're doing any work on the primary, you can use a little bit of wire just to clear them out. If you overfill your primary case, the oil will go into your crankcase. When it's in your crankcase, the pump will pump it out. So regardless amount of oil you put in your primary, eventually it's going to get it with the pump will empty, or do its best to empty it out, because that's its job, and that pumps it out from here back to tank. This is the catchment pipe that picks up oil from here. So you've got oil spinning around here in your chain. Some of the oil gets caught in this trap and runs back down onto your the inside of your chain and helps to lubricate it. The other side of this is your crankcase vent, which is that hole, and that goes out to atmosphere. Okay, in here, just to show you, you should be able to see the tacho drive. The cam fits into, and your tacho is here. So your tacho drive is on the end of your camshaft here, and that fits into that, and when that turns around it turns your cable. Here you've got your chain tensioner, obviously, so your chain runs along here. When you tighten it up, this squeezes together like that. These two parts come together, and that makes that more of a hump, and that tightens your chain up. If you don't over tighten your chain, these things tend to last a very, very long time. I won't say how long, but they do last a very, very long time. This is the catchment pipe that picks up oil from here. So you've got oil spinning around here in your chain. Some of the oil gets caught in this trap and runs back down onto your the inside of your chain and helps to lubricate it. The other side of this is your crankcase vent, which is that hole, and that goes out to atmosphere. In this half you've got the crankcase oil drain, which is here. Your crankcase oil drain on the inside has a pipe, which is here. So when you put your crankcase plug in, it's got a gauze filter on it. So any oil coming out of here or going into that pipe goes through that gauze filter. That pickup pipe, which is on the inside of your crankcase, which I've already just shown you, comes out here. And this is your return line oil feed. So oil is sucked from the crankcase by the oil pump. This is your return line, which is the bigger one because it's got a bigger capacity. So oil is sucked in through that slot and blown back out through there, which is that hole here. And that hole comes out here. And that line is the line that goes back to your tank, as it draws oil from the crankcase through there and then blows it back out through there, along your line, through your oil filter, and then from your oil filter to your tank. That's all that big piston does. It makes sure that this crankcase doesn't have too much oil in it. Now this, as you can see, this is much bigger than this one. So when your engine's running, it will naturally empty this out completely, as well, to its best of its abilities, to the level of that pipe on the inside. So it's always got that amount of oil in, and it does that pretty damn quick. You know, 30 seconds after you fire up, that's all leveled off. If you've got wet sumping, from your tank via a filter along the line in through here, getting, and it's got to get past that piston, which is a precision fit, which is very unlikely, out through there, which is nearly impossible. Don't play with it, try to check it any other way. That's all it is. That's all that's in that circuit. There is nothing else there. So wet sumping is when you've got oil coming from tank via your filter in that port, out of that port, through your oil pump, magically getting past your piston. Oh, and the valve, you've got your valve in here as well. This is a 4-port valve. Out through there and back into your crank. Don't happen. These bikes don't wet sump. Your other pump, which is this one, the smaller one, this is the one that really does all the work. This is the most important one. This is the one that you get oil pressure from when you're running the engine. So the oil for this pump comes in through here, from that port, which is here, gets blown back out of that port into this port, out of this port, and that is the one that connects up to your timing case distribution block. Then obviously the last bit is your connector, which connects the two halves of your pump together, and that fits onto the end of your cam in when it's in position. And as the cam turns round, you've got the cam wheel on here, and that makes it go up and down and produces your oil pressure. Pretty bulletproof, these things. They last forever, as long as your oil's clean. You're not going to get any wear on it, are you? How can you get wear on that? It's all about whether you keep your oil clean. If you put an oil filter in, you won't ever need to change it. Well, I don't think you'll ever need to change your oil pump. So the oil goes through your pump, out through your valve in the bottom of your pump, your ball valve, and then through here, out through here, and into your timing case. For distribution, the oil runs across from here to the there's like a hub on your timing case, and then from there it's distributed, and the other line comes out here. Here's you got your oil pressure control valve, and that controls the amount of oil pressure that you've got in this circuit. When that valve opens, it dumps to tank and controls the amount of oil pressure that you've got. So the oil goes through there. A lot of people forget about this. It goes through that line and comes out the top here and goes up through your block. Which you've got little drillings on, which are here. And those are lubricated through your cam follower guide block and lubricates these for when they're going up and down. So these are your exhaust. Obviously this is your exhaust side, you've got your inlet side and your exhaust side. So your oil comes through the timing case, through that hole. Now also you have lubrication that goes into your cam guide bushings. Inside here there is a little hole. So if you do replace these, it's very important you get that hole lined up. You've got oil vapor with oil flying around inside here. That's a straight through hole from your crankcase. You've got oil that blasts around the inside of here in the form of a vapor and feeds these bushes through two small holes here. I'll just take my oil pressure control valve out. This is an inch socket. I've ground a little bit around the edge of this socket just to allow it to fit a little bit more cleanly onto here. It's a pretty tight fit when it goes around the back of the case. So just undo that, take out your oil pressure control valve. And it's got a fine mesh gauze on there again, so if there's any debris it is unlikely to get into here. What happens is you've got oil comes in here through that hole here, lifts this piston off its seat. When it gets up to pressure, it dumps into your timing case here and into your crankcase in here. the other line, which is the other side of that drilling here. Let's see that pipe, and stick that pipe through there. That one there, that one comes out up here, and that's what feeds your tappets. So it goes in there through your oil control valve and up through here. So that one is fed all the time. So you're always getting plenty of oil, which is what you want. I hope that's clear. I'll try and show you this. It's a bit difficult to do. I've got some pictures of it anyway. Sorry, where your oil lines feed on into your pump. That face there is this face here is very important to make sure that's clean and make sure it's flat, and you need to pay meticulous attention to that, because this is a prime place for where you get oil leaks, mainly because it's a bad design. You've got a steel bolt which is there, and you've got the two oil lines on either side. You should have another bolt there to level the pressure between the two when it clamps. So trying to keep that flat is really hard, and you get leaks. Make sure that that's flat, and any little divot like there is on there, you need to clean off. Dinks, as I was calling them earlier on. Very important you get that as flat as you can make it. These bolt holes tend to pick up a little bit, and you get rags, and a rag is enough to cause a leak. So you've got the two ports on each side, and you've got a pin which is for alignment purposes. It's meant to try and hold it straight, but it's rubbish. That's all flat, and there's no track match either. I'll just blow that off. Okay, so I've taken my oil control valve out. Take the spring out. It's the spring that controls your pressure. So yeah, well, there's your that's how it works. So you've got a piston, oil goes through there, piston's in here. When you're coming up to pressure, 70 psi, for instance, that lifts up its seat and allows oil to come through here and into your timing case and into your crankcase, and the spring controls that. Okay, so that's fairly logical, I think, how all that works. So the flat end fits into there, butterfingers, and you can see there's a little groove along the side. And there's a hole down the end of the groove which is there, and so that fits into there like that. So it's on the seat, stopping any oil being relieved to the crankcase or the timing case. As the pressure comes up, it fights the spring, pushes it back, and oil then comes out of there and goes to your crankcase and your timing case, and controls your pressure. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And your spring fits into there, and you've got your cap that fits on there. And I use a bit of tape just to form a good seal.